Let's call to order the Des Moines Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board, and I'll ask the clerk to quickly take roll, please.
County.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Reese.
Here.
Mahaffey.
Here.
Hensley.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Item 2 on our agenda is approving the fiscal year 2014 Community Impact Investment Agreement with United Way of Central Iowa for the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, July 1, 2013 through June 30, 2014. This was Board Communication number 13-345. Is there anybody in the audience to speak to that? Seeing none, could we have a motion?
Move.
It's been moved. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item 3 is to receive and file the issuance of operational analysis request for proposal, Board Communication number 13-350. Is there anybody in the audience to speak on that? Seeing none, could we have a motion to receive and file?
Move.
It's been moved. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Could we have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
We sit adjourned. All right, prior to beginning of our city council meeting this evening, we'll have a quick message from our own member, Bob Mahaffey. And Bob will have people stand if they so desire to hear your words.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to have a short prayer tonight. If you'll join with me. God of heaven and earth, you are the creator and source of every blessing. We pray that you will bring peace to all of our brothers and sisters of this world. Give us lives filled with wisdom, guided with respect for all. Help us to reject greed and to learn to share all the good things that you provide for us. We also ask for the guidance of the medical team that is caring for Joe Gonzalez, and that he will be returned in full recovery. Help us to do justice, love kindness, and to walk humbly with you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bob. Amen.
All right, we'll call to order the Des Moines City Council meeting for July 15th. I'll ask clerk please to take roll.
County.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Reese. Mahaffey.
Here.
Hensley.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Prior to the start of our official agenda, we have some folks here, a group called Mothers Against Violence. They have a special event coming up in July 27th, I believe. And we have a couple folks here that would like to speak to that. And they had a very successful walk earlier this year. Started in Evelyn Davis and walked around through the neighborhoods, had a great turnout, and they really have a good purpose to their work. So I would ask a couple of the speakers quickly to step forward and talk about the event. And give us your name and address, please.
My name is Calvetta Williams. My address is 3224 East 13th. Do I speak now?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay. I'm with Mothers Against Violence. I'm the founder. How I started Mothers Against Violence is a dear friend of mine got killed. And when he got killed, something in me said, I need to do something. I don't want to bury my son. So I started this group. I'm basically saying enough is enough. So I want everyone to come together and say we're tired of the killings. So I just would like to read our mission statement to you guys. Mothers Against Violence is an organization whose mission is to aid in stopping violence and provide assistance and support to victims of violence. Its purpose is to prevent violence by educating parents and youth on the value of life, self, and respect for others. We want to bring the respect back. And we know it the violence just doesn't happen in the inner city. So we would like people to come out of their homes and say enough is enough. And this is Larry, and he will tell you about our upcoming events.
Good afternoon. Good evening. My name is Larry McLaughlin. I live at 4225 Village Lane in West Des Moines. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and also council persons for allowing us this moment, just this short moment, to speak about some of the things we have going on in the community. We have partnered with Creative Vision, Tabernacle Church, Spectrum Resources, 1,000 Families for Peace, Salvation Army, and also Life After Hate. MAV will be hosting a unity stance on July 27th at the Simon Estes Amphitheaters, where we're asking city officials, community leaders, churches, and our youth from various communities will get together and just form a stance and just try to work through some of these problems. Also, we have an outreach program that we are forming through Creative Visions, and it's called Ride Out, where we'll have 2 vans equipped with phones, where we'll operate out of one of our partners, like I said, Creative Vision, which we'll also use as a safe haven, using volunteers for conflict resolution. We are asking for your support and endorsement at this time, asking the mayor to speak and any other council persons that would like to speak at the Unity Stance on July 27th or would like to ride along with us. You're more than welcome. And like I said, I would just like to thank you for your support at this time. Thank you.
Larry and Kavetta, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got an extra one. You want a motion to receive and file, and I'll give it to
Move.
clerk. Receive and file.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. All right, item 2 on our agenda, and thank you both and everybody else for coming down. We appreciate it very much, and I'll tell you that we all support a reduction in violence and giving young people an idea and an opportunity to work in our community, be productive members of our society, and have families of their own and raise really good, productive kids. So let's all work together to try to make that happen. Item 2 on our agenda is approving the agenda as presented and/or as amended.
Move.
Been moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item 3 is approving the consent agenda. Tonight, those are items 3 through 44, and they will be routine items generally that are accepted on a single vote, but can be pulled off for separate discussion by either somebody from the audience or one of the mayor's members of the city council. Tonight, of those items, item 4S and 4T, Councilmember Coleman votes no. Item 33, Councilmember Hensley wishes to speak. Item 36, Councilmember Coleman wishes to speak. And item 42A, Councilmember Coleman votes no. Are there any other items anybody else wants to pull off this evening? Again, those are items 3 through 44. Seeing none, could we have a motion for the balance? It's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. That takes us to item 33. Item 33 is item approving a second amendment to the development agreement with Indigo Dawn LLC for renovation of 819th Street, extending completion date to December 31st of 2014, and a repayment schedule. Council Communication number 13-361. Mr. Coleman.
I think it's me.
Oh, Ms. Hensley, I'm sorry.
I would like to just, I know Chad's out in the audience here tonight, and this has been a project that's been ongoing up in Sherman Hill for quite some time. It's a great project, although it's got probably one of the most complicated financial decks I've ever seen on a project, and therefore it's taking quite a bit longer. So I'm appreciative of the fact that they're going to start making payments back to the city, and that's the action that we're taking on tonight. But based upon the fact that we're extending it to the end of 2014, I'd really like to add as an item to this action that we get regular updates, and whether that would be monthly, bi-monthly, I'll leave that up to economic development staff, but not only for city council and mayor, but also the Sherman Hill Neighborhood Association. So I'll move item 33 with the caveat, or with the addition that we have a mechanism for. Okay. Okay?
Mr. Coleman.
I'm sorry.
7 yes.
Item 36 is a Neighborhood Commercial Revitalization Program NCR loan of $170,000 and a facade grant of $15,000 to Gassman Real Estate LLC for renovations and expansion of the commercial building at 2822 and 2806 6th Avenue in Des Moines. Council Communication number 13-363. Mr. Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to move and support this. I did want to recognize, because I know Mr. Gassman is here and representatives of his company. This is a property in this corporation's name, but many of us know it as Bell Brothers Heating and Cooling, and been down in the north side of Des Moines for generations. It always strikes me that these kinds of things go unnoticed in the media, and our citizens don't know that our economic team is hard at work at it. It is significant. Mr. Gassman knows these numbers better than I do, but this project that he's going to undertake is going to raise the employment at his business to 100 employees sometime soon through their growth. Very exciting. They pay a lot of property taxes, and I always feel bad that good business operators like Mr. Gassman get very little recognition for continuing to invest in our city, especially when we read so many headlines. That 100 employees is more people than Facebook and Microsoft will employ combined, and they'll start paying taxes and have for decades. And it's businesses like that that really make a difference in our city. And even though we read headline after headline after headline after headline about these big data centers moving to Des Moines, that's great. I have nothing against them. I think it's good for us. What really makes this community tick and hum are businesses like Mr. Gassman's that have been paying taxes, continue to, and I wish they all got the kind of recognition that he deserves and gets tonight. Thank you. I'll move 36. And 36. Is there another one?
7 yes.
No, just 136.
Okay.
Okay, we're done with 36. That completes the consent agenda. That takes us to item 45, which are ordinances first consideration. Item 45 is amending Chapter 114 of the Municipal Code regarding traffic regulation changes as follows. This is Council Communication number 13-369. A is the installation of new parking meters, City of Des Moines surface lot on the southeast corner of East 4th Street and East Grand Avenue. B is the two-sided parking restriction Beaver Avenue between Madison Avenue and Shawnee Avenue. C is the reverse the side of existing parking on Greenwood Drive between Tonawanda Drive and 42nd Street. D is one-sided parking restriction change North Valley Drive from Southwest 56th Street to Southwest 59th Street. And E is two-sided parking restriction East Sheridan Avenue between Idaho Street and East 16th Street. Is there anybody here to address any of those changes on traffic regulations? Seeing none, could we have a motion?
If not, I'd like to speak on E. That Sheridan is over there by the Grandview University, and that's been a very problem street, and I'm appreciative of this being on there. And I will move 45A, B, C, D, and E.
Been moved.
Seven yes.
All right, item 46, it's a request by Councilmember Brian Meyer to discuss food trucks in Des Moines.
Thanks, Mayor. This has come about and then been percolating up for, I think we first dealt with this after I got elected 6 years ago. And there's been amendments to it, I know, a few years ago regarding time down on Court Avenue. I've talked to a lot of folks, particularly after 8035, and read a lot about it in some of the magazines, weekly magazines here, whether it's City View or Juice. And a lot of people have come to me and asked, why do we ban food trucks in the city, and why aren't there any downtown? And I can't give them an answer as to why there are not any food trucks downtown. And the regulations we have on the books may be a little bit of an issue with them starting up and maybe operating out of the downtown area. But I've also looked at other ordinances across the entire country, and ours is somewhat similar, and there may be some points that can be fixed that would help move some of these downtown. We in the city have 18 food truck permits, most of them probably in Bob and my ward. We have a lot of opportunity, I think, downtown, as long as we keep it in that general area. And so the proposal, and I've talked to Councilwoman Hensley, the proposal I'd like to look at is to possibly have city staff work with the Downtown Community Alliance, some of the business owners downtown, whether that be a restaurant, bring in some of the food trucks to talk about an ordinance, the neighborhood association downtown in the East Village, and have a discussion about creating an area, a zone between the Capitol, say the East Village, and the Western Gateway, where we can allow these folks to write their own ordinance, but at the same time keep the ordinance in place in other parts of the city, because it appears to be working in those other parts. And so maybe we can get to the root of the problem as to why they're not locating downtown, whether that's during festivals or just in general during the lunch period, whenever it is. And so the idea here tonight is to move the ball forward to have this discussion and see if there's a way to ease some of the restrictions just in that area to allow them to operate more freely. And keeping in mind that we do have some very good restrictions and in place already, not so much to hinder their operation, but rather to protect the public, whether that be requiring a food inspection permit, a sales tax permit, that they move every day, that they are in fact mobile, but that we look at keeping those aspects of the ordinance, but maybe perhaps easing some other restrictions. So my proposal is to refer it to city staff, both legal and the city manager's office, to work with all principals involved to come up with an ordinance that makes sense for downtown and the East Village.
I would just add to Councilmember Myers, and I know we've talked about this, and I think that there is merit in looking at an overlay for the downtown area, or zone, as Brian referred to it. We also have the Principal Riverwalk now, where, you know, that's a little bit different, but yet you've got vendors down there, so I think we need to take that into account as well. And the last item I would just make reference to is talking with the police chief. I know there were some concerns expressed when we had this discussion back 6 years ago as to timing and wanting to make sure that it wasn't out there that would encourage people to loiter around when we're actually looking to get them to disperse as the bars are closing. So we need to take all of that into account and find a balance, I believe.
And one final thing, I have an email today from a gentleman that works on the south side, runs his mother's pizza shop, and made the comment that the expenses that a brick and mortar building has are much different than these expenses on these trucks, and to take that into account. So this is not a slam dunk. It's not everybody 100% behind it, but I think we can come to a reasonable solution and compromise and figure out a way to get this done. So I'll move this item forward, and item 46, and refer it back to the city manager's office and legal to get the ball rolling.
Hopefully, we'll have some of the businesses downtown set in on these conversations, because they're paying property tax and all on their building.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they need to be involved.
7 yes.
All right. right, takes us to communications reports. This item 47 from representatives of St. Augustine Church to speak regarding its property located in the vicinity of 40th and Grand Avenue. Sir?
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, William Lillis, 317 6th Avenue, Suite 300, appearing on behalf of St. Augustine's. With me this evening is my partner, Joel Templeman, also Bill Sarangeli, co-counsel, and Father Chris Hartshorn. We're asking the council to, and we're not asking for action item this evening, but we're asking to council to hear what our proposal would be as to the properties that are owned by St. Augustine's and have been for some time, two of which have been the subject of discussion and litigation. We'd advised the council that the lawsuit that had been filed whereby St. Augustine's wanted to have two of the properties demolished. There are three, incidentally. One of the properties, 40th Street, I don't have the exact location, is not the subject of any request of St. Augustine's to have that particular house demolished. That lawsuit has been dismissed. History as to this area of some of the council members may or may not remember. I represented St. Augustine's in Plymouth when 41st Street was vacated back in 1999. So 41st Street, which was there, now is a subject for access for St. Augustine's in Plymouth. In 1999, although St. Augustine's did not own the two properties that are here being discussed this evening, they did have their eye on them, but actually they were gifted in part, mostly in part, by the Nahas family to St. Augustine's back in about 10 years later, 2009. It has always been the St. Augustine's desire that those two properties would not remain, that they would be used, hopefully the land, for some future development, which incidentally the church has no present plan as to how that land would be used, but they do not want to have those two houses be located where they are. The ordinance provides in part, we St. Augustine's thought we had complied with that, that the properties would be offered for someone if they wanted to take them, frankly, donate them in part. And we did that and thought we complied with that and asked for a demolition permit. The church, as I mentioned, will not demolish the third house. That is not the subject of the discussion. In order to set forth a procedure, we have met with the staff and a couple council members, Mr. Mayor, and I've discussed this with you in part. We would allow interested contractors or anyone to view the properties at an appointed time. And that we would like to have then, it is within the discretion, we believe, of St. Augustine's as to whether there would be a party who could take the two properties in question, move them to someplace that would be at the discretion of whoever chose to move them. We, St. Augustine's, then would pay the amount of the demolition costs to that contractor, assuming contractor would be moving either one or both or a combination of two to somewhere within the, I presume, immediate area. You can't usually typically move those very far. We'd like to have a timeline of August 15, which would be exactly 30 days from today, and that we would then ask a contractor to post I think a fairly minimal is what I'm trying to say, $3,000 bond, if in fact they would be the party who would take these structure or structures to a different location. They need to, whoever might be, and we've had at least one solicitation from someone who would like to move those to a different location. But we have no idea as to any of the details of where those buildings would go. So that would have to be a process we'd have to work out. The city has rightfully told us and admonished us that whoever would take those properties, they would have to go through the pre-application process of the city by coming to the city and saying, here's what we want to do, here's where we'd like to take these particular, either one building or two buildings. So there's a process, and that would have to be completed. So what we were proposing, and we're asking the council for no action, as I mentioned, but we're asking to advise the council that we reserve, of course, the right to pick a contractor as to the detail of whether that contractor would move one or both or any combination, and to have that schedule. Like I mentioned, the church would then pay the amount in lieu of. So whatever the demolition costs are, we would pay those demolition costs if they chose to move the house or house away. In order to set forth the process, we've talked with, or we need to talk further with, our liability carrier. These houses are closed down. They have not been a target of any kind of mischief or any kind of vandalism, is what I mean to say, but we don't want it to be, and we have liability questions. So we're proposing, if we can get the insurance carrier, our insurance carrier, liability carrier, to give us the green light to have 2 Saturdays, one maybe being as early as this Saturday, from 11 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And again, I'm saying we'd like to start it this Saturday or 2 Saturdays, and then with the window to complete the process to determine on August 15 whether they could be moved away. That doesn't happen overnight, we know, as far as moving, so we're talking about another 60 days after the 15th of August, which would take us, to the middle of October, as to actually physically having those properties removed. But we dare say that in August, middle of August, we would know as to whether there would be any viable entity or entities that would come take. It doesn't have to be one. You could have 2 entities that would take, 2 separate and move them to an appointed place. In order for us to make that determination, we will follow the process, we meaning St. Augustine's. And we want anybody who comes on site to be 18 years of age to sign a release for potential liability. And if someone wanted to come and view the property, they'd be welcome to do that during the 2 times we're talking about, 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock in 2 Saturdays, hopefully beginning this Saturday, then the next consecutive Saturday. But we would, of course, insist that they sign a release for liability purposes, and our insurance carrier has told us that must be done. In order for us to then ask the council to issue the demolition permit or permits, depending upon whether it's 1 or 2, we propose, Mr. Mayor, to come back to the council after the 15th of August. And frankly, I think if the meeting schedule that I'm looking at, the 26th of August would be the first meeting the council would have after the 15th of August, and report to you. And frankly, if somebody is successful in finding and they can move them away, and they can move within that time frame of the next 60 days, we'll report that back to the council. If we come up with absolutely no one who meets that criteria, and we St. Augustine's determine after going through that process that we don't have any viable candidate to do that, then we would ask the council for action at that time, 26th of August, to issue the demolition permits, because it's always been the intention of St. Augustine from the time that they took the property back in '09 that these properties would not remain, that they would be used for some further use, the land value for some use that we do not have a proposal presently. The church does not intend to leave a hole in the ground or any kind of area where it's not filled in, it's not, it's right in our backyard, front yard, side yard, whatever. And so they would take and seed it, keep it nice, but I want to repeat, we have no present plan as to what that property would be used for.
Other than
immediately.
you've talked about it not being a parking lot.
It would not be a parking lot. We're not proposing, we have plenty of parking, Ms. Hensley, members of the council. So it's always been proposed that there could be some type of development there, i.e. housing. It's not intended to be commercial, but we have no present plan to use it, but it certainly is a wonderful piece of property at 40th and Grant. Father Hartshorn's here, my partner Joel Templeman and Bill Sarangeli, who's been the lawyer who has been assisting us in this matter, is here. I welcome questions or any questions that council members might have, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hensley.
Mr. Lillis and all of the other representatives here from St. Augustine's, I want to thank you for coming forward and sitting down and working with the city on this. As you know, there's been quite a lot of controversy and discussion around it. So I really appreciate everybody coming forward and working with us. And I think that the plan that you've laid out and that we've worked with the church on is very reasonable and accomplishes and addresses, I believe, the concerns that were expressed by the neighborhood association. Just two questions to make sure. On the Saturdays and the openings that you're proposing, the next two Saturdays from 11 to 2, it's my understanding that would be for anybody in the public arena that wants to come in and view the properties, take pictures if they want, just to record for historic purposes what's in the house, if that's what they so choose, correct?
That's true.
As long as they sign the liability waiver.
That's right.
So if there are movers, and I don't know who those are, but I know we have been contacted, would they have to come in during that period, or would they have access to really get in and look at the nuts and bolts of the property at a different time?
Not necessarily. Pardon me, that's a good question. We've had one party who's expressed interest, a high level of interest to move. Could that party come before then? Sure. Can they come look at, call it kick the tires, whatever? Sure, because it would take that particular party, if they are in earnest, and I believe they are, to move one or two, to come look at it, find out if one, for example, is structurally sound, because there's a question as to whether it might be and whether it's really honestly worth moving. And of course, what the city's advised us, and I think that's a very good admonition, is that you just can't move these to just anywhere, so they would need to go through this pre-application process. But to answer your question, if they choose to contact us before then, if Chris could, or anybody else in the council, if they could come earlier, that's fine.
Okay.
And then they'd have more time. But we're particularly interested in the people that may want to come look at, I would call it artifacts, whatever the parts of the building. But we also would reserve the right to, we don't want to have somebody just take parts of it. We want to be sure that if we have a plan to move one or the other, that they take the whole, that they don't take just bits and pieces. But we want to have, during that window of period of time, the next two Saturdays, we'd have a third party, somebody different than, it wouldn't be a representative of the church, it'd be probably a security party to guide them through it.
So then, it's my understanding from what you said that you would come back on the 26th of August, and at that point, you'll give us an update as to whether the properties will be able to be moved, or you'll be requesting demolition and a permit to go ahead and do the demolition.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we think that since we're not asking for any action this evening, we're advising the council. We'd, of course, like to have the indication of the council, if possible, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as to whether the process we're setting forth would appear to be what we think to be reasonable. But I would think, and I think we said it, discuss this with your legal department, it would take some council action or with the manager. So we're proposing to come back after the 15th, and what again, is it the 27th?
The 26th.
26th of August.
Okay. And then my last comment or question would be, I know we also had discussion about communication and how do we make people aware. So is that going to be with the church webpage? You know, I know there's been something in the paper, but it really didn't have.
Candidly, we're not that sophisticated with the webpage, is what I'm told. So therefore, we want to advise the council and the press is here, that we can give that back to the mayor, however you want us to do it, as to whether this Saturday. But it's our full intent to start the process this coming Saturday, which would be what? 21st.
So maybe there would be a press release or just something that we could make available in your wording that could be given to neighborhoods so they can do a blast email out?
Yeah, we'll try to
in
do
lieu
that.
of?
Yeah, we'll try to do that so that there can be
Okay.
some, but
I
we
think it would
don't,
be important to be from St. Augustine's and in your words.
we'll see if we can't work that process out, but it would be a pretty quick turnaround time is our intention.
Understand? Okay.
So it'd be the 20th,
Sig-
20th?
20th.
Saturday,
Is
July
that Saturday?
20th.
Yeah, July 20th is our present
And the
intent.
27th.
20th and 27th.
Okay.
And like I say, that's subject to insurance liability saying that we can start that process. But we'll do our best to inform anyone that as to the 20th or 27th. If for some reason we do not get it done, it'd have to be the 27th, and then the next meeting, the first Saturday in
Be the
August.
3rd.
3rd.
Again, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Coleman, anybody on here?
Just a couple quick things. The mayor, Christine, and I know, and others have had conversations. I want to especially recognize the church for doing what I think is the right thing here and trying to save those houses. Christine and I happen to be the only people here at the table that were around in '99 when we made the first deal, and I think that was the intention of our agreement and what St. Augustine's agreed to back then, and you continue to today, and I appreciate that. And it's more than just words. I know we understand how complicated this is, and we've talked about it, but one of the things that St. Augustine's has agreed to do is to spend the money that they would have spent on demolition to provide that to a qualified developer. And that's not easy to do, and I don't want to use a number because I'm not sure you've fixed in on it, but it's more than $20,000, more than $25,000 that St. Augustine's is willing to spend to make this happen if somebody can do it in the time frame of the rules that you provided. So I wanted to recognize that this is more than hollow words. St. Augustine's is even willing to put money into it to make it happen.
That's true.
The second thing that I want to say, and again, it's for all those that are interested parties in moving it, I hope the buildings are moved, and I hope somebody steps forward. But it's really important to me that it happens in the time frame. A lot of these kinds of projects slip, and, oh, we had one delay, or we can't do this. The bank financing fell apart. In this case, I think it's really, really important because the time frame of this, the city shares the importance. We don't want to get to the winter and have it halfway through demolition or a hole not filled. So it's really important to me that the decision is made and the house is moved heading into winter so we don't have an eyesore, something that can be inhabited by people that you don't want and the city doesn't want, or to be partway through construction. So for the record, I want it to be saved, but I'm plenty willing, if a developer doesn't come forward, to vote to demolish it if that's what we have to do per our agreement. So.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Thank you again.
Thank
Is
you.
there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comment on this item? Seeing none, why don't we have a motion to
I'll make a motion to receive and file the information.
7 yes.
All right. It is time for hearings. Should we take 49 and 50? Yeah. Item 49 is on the construction of an East Gray Street sidewalk from Indianola Avenue to 341 East Gray. Anybody here to speak to this? Seeing none, we'll turn it over to our city engineer.
Mayor, members of council, Jeb Brewer, city engineer. I'd just like to point out quickly before people may want to discuss on item 49 and 50. Last year, council approved a new policy for sidewalk construction. Typically, sidewalk is constructed under an assessed program. There was a limited program in which some sidewalk would be constructed if approved by council as a high priority or connector sidewalk. These two programs tonight are such there is no assessment being levied against the property owners. Therefore, there's no need for a resolution necessity. However, since the city will be paying for the sidewalk after the construction, the budding property owners will be responsible for future operation and maintenance. Those property owners were notified about this hearing tonight. They were asked if they wanted to provide comments. They have not provided, there have been no written comments provided to the city to date regarding these construction of these two sidewalks. However, tonight is an opportunity for people to voice their issues. If you vote affirmative on both of these items, that will authorize staff to go ahead and design the project. It will come back to council in the normal construction cycle, set date of hearing, and have construction hearing on plans and specifications.
All right. Is there anybody to speak on this? Sir? Would you want to step to the podium and give us your name and address, please, sir?
Mayor, Council. Daniel Stenstrom I own property at 309 East Grace Street. And I'm just concerned that the traffic does not, the pedestrian traffic and the traffic that doesn't warrant putting a sidewalk through there. I've lived there since 1997, and I don't see the traffic need or the pedestrian safety need. Also, this map that I was given here that was sent to me in the mail does not seem to, the sidewalk goes nowhere. It goes from Indianola Road to 341 Gray, which is, there's maybe 200 feet of sidewalk in the middle of Gray Street, and it's in front of two houses. And so it's just connecting Indianola Road to that existing sidewalk that's been there for many, many, many years, as long as I can remember. And it doesn't connect to the end of the street. It doesn't, there's no benefit. They have to build a ramp out to the street, it looks like, because they stop at 341, or 4, it looks like 401. The sidewalk just stops, and it doesn't even go to the end of the street. So I don't know what benefit there is to it. There also isn't really any place to go. It's literally a sidewalk to nowhere, as far as I can tell. And that's my objection to it, as long as, I just don't think as a taxpayer that it's a beneficial, for the tax money involved and for the people that live there, the inconvenience of having to go through that construction. There doesn't seem to be, to me anyway, a valid justification to do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ned, did you want to speak?
I do. Mr. Mayor and Council, I am one of the property owners that have a sidewalk. That sidewalk, to give you a little bit of history, dates back 36 years when I built my home. The city forced me to put the sidewalk in. And I disagree with the neighbor. We have a reasonable traffic flow on the street. We have young children that go down to several schools. It would be delightful in the evening to take a walk, or even in the winter, and not have to walk out in a street full of snow and ice. We have small children. In my household, for example, my wife is handicapped. That walk would be a great benefit to her. I have a grandchild that's 14 months old, just starting to walk. Taking that child in a stroller, not being on the street, it would be very safe. So I would like to go on record with my wife Nancy as supporting this sidewalk. It's long overdue, gentlemen. Ma'am.
All right. Is there anybody else?
I'll move 49 if there's nobody else.
Okay. Item 49, so Jeb, you're going to design, look at it, you're bringing it back.
If council approves it tonight, we just started the new fiscal year, then we'll be authorized to start expending funds to design the sidewalk. Then it'll come back to council for set data hearing, the normal construction process. So you will see this again to set data hearing and to award the contract. This is just to start the design. We haven't expended funds yet.
Six yes.
All right, item 50 on the construction of East Sheridan Avenue sidewalk from 2658 East Sheridan to Hubble Avenue. Mr. Brewer, do you want to speak to this?
It's the same situation as previously. This sidewalk also would be non-assessed. It's a connector-type sidewalk. It originally was presented to council to be considered, and it has been given notice to adjoining property owners. Likewise, we have received no written comments to date regarding either for or against this sidewalk.
All right, anybody in the audience to speak on this one, the sidewalk on East Sheridan Avenue? All right, seeing none?
I'll go ahead and move this. I have been contacted with people over that area that it really is needed for the neighborhood, the kids in that, and this would be a welcome improvement.
7 yes.
All right. Now, item 51 on our hearings. This item at 5:15. This hearing is on the conveyance of 1406 21st Street to Anawim Housing for $4,800. Council Communication Number 13-371. Is there anyone in the audience to speak on this item? Seeing none, could we have a motion?
Seven yes.
Item 52 on the conveyance of property adjacent to 814 Bell Avenue to Cloyd and Teresa Gerard for $25. Council Communication Number 13-356. Anybody in the audience to speak on this item?
I'll move 52.
Six yes.
Item 53 on a request from Kelly Wolfkuhl. So I apologize if Kelly's in the audience if I mispronounce that. The owner to rezone property in the vicinity of 1617 Oakland Avenue from R160 one-family low-density residential to R3 multi-residential to allow the future consideration of a conditional use permit for the premises for a correction placement residence use. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends denial. Under that is a recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission to amend the 2020 Community Character Plan to revise the future land use designation from low-density residential to medium-density residential, and the recommendation on that one is to deny. So, is there anybody in the audience to speak to this item?
Yes, well, my name is Kelly Wolfkuhl. You did quite well with the pronunciation.
Thank you very much.
Do you need my address?
Please.
1306 Southeast Trilene in Ankeny, Iowa. First of all, I'd just like to tell you a little about myself. I have worked in the community for many, many years, over 20 years. I worked at the Polk County Health Department as a public health investigator, which means that whenever there was like a communicable disease outbreak, I would go out and talk with everyone and interview them and find out information. And then also, I did a lot of work in the community and did outreach, providing education and testing and counseling to individuals who are homeless or in recovery. I also did education at the Polk County Jail for several years, twice a week, every week. I volunteered at the jail also, and then part of that was my job at the health department. But I have volunteered with Catholic Worker House, and the way that I got involved with this house is that I had been volunteering with Harbor of Hope. which was a recovery house for men in this same location. I volunteered with them for a year and a half, and I worked right alongside with the director at Harbor of Hope, and I really enjoyed working with the men and helping them get into social skills and communication skills and helping them find a job, teaching them job skills, helping them with resume and so on. I did a lot of education and classes with them. And when the Harbor of Hope decided to move from that current location, I did continue to volunteer with them at their new location, which is also in Des Moines. And this particular residence sat empty for about 4 months. And while it was empty, I really wanted to purchase it and start my own business. And, you know, it was kind of scary because, you know, where do I start and how do you do this and so on. And I thought, you know, I can do this because I've been volunteering with Harbor of Hope for a couple of years now. So I purchased the property in November of 2012. And I purchased that building with my own money, that property. And then I put $50,000 into the property to get it back up to code so that it could be reopened as a new facility. And we serve men who are in recovery or homeless veterans. We've helped a lot of homeless people, people who are in recovery, people who are just getting out of prison, jail, or some kind of a treatment facility. They come to one-way recovery, and they can spend anywhere from 6 months to 2 years getting back on their feet, getting a job, getting aftercare, getting reacquainted with their families and friends, and, you know, hopefully learning skills so that they can get a better job and eventually buy their own house or get their own apartment and live on their own. And we also have classes there at the facility. We do AA and NA classes weekly. We did have about 25 men at the facility when we first opened in January of 2013. The house is 7,000 square feet. It's quite large. It has 10 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms. Is it okay if I pass around the picture?
Yeah. We can put that there. And this might allow people watching on TV and in the hall.
Okay. And this is a petition that I have.
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay.
Mayor, she has a petition. I'll move to receive and file.
Sure. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
What they are passing around is a petition of about 60 signatures from neighborhood folks who are okay with us being in the neighborhood. They're not opposed to us in any way, and they understand why we are there and what we are doing.
All right, I'm going to check with the council. How many more minutes do you think you have?
Oh, not very many. I'll hurry.
Okay to proceed? Okay.
Okay. So from January until April of 2013, we were open and operating. And in April, the beginning of April, the sewer went out in this property. From the house to the street, the entire sewer system had to be replaced. Therefore, we had to replace part of the street, the whole sidewalk in the front. The whole yard was tore up virtually. And it cost about $20,000 to repair this property so that all of the, all of the restrooms were functioning. And during that time, they meaning the city of Des Moines, they had condemned the house because there was no running water and no restrooms working. So at that time, we relocated to a hotel until the work had been finished, and then we came back to the building. And at that time, the city inspector came by the house and notified me that we were not in compliance with the zoning. When I purchased the property, I was under the assumption that it would remain the same. And in our contract, the purchase agreement, it stated that it would remain the same zoning and the same use for this property. And, you know, had I known that it would move back to a single-family dwelling, I probably wouldn't have purchased this property at all, because, you know, it's over 7,000 square feet. It's quite large. I really don't want to relocate to Des Moines to live in this house. My dream was to, you know, provide services and help these young men have a better life. That's my ultimate goal. And so I just ask that you consider that we be able to, you know, go about our day-to-day operations and be able to have folks back in the building. Right now, I have about 10 men who are not in any way in the correctional system. They can't be on probation or parole.
Do you actually have staff 24/7?
Yes. Either myself or my staff person is there. He's with me here today.
So are you employed outside of providing the service in this property?
I am employed there as a director, and then we have like a house person.
Okay, so that's your full-time job?
Yes, that's my full-time job. And, you know, I've gone to school, I've gotten my degree, I'm going to Drake to get my master's in public administration with an emphasis on nonprofit. And, you know, this is my goal, my dream is to have this house and provide services and be able to help the people in the community.
Any other questions for Kelly? All right, are there, let's say, if you'll make yourself available here, if we have some
Okay.
more questions, we ought to see if there's other people in the audience that have any questions or comments
Okay.
to add to the record on this item.
Okay. I also wanted to just say that Akeo Abdul Samad was here in support of us, but he had to leave.
Okay. All right, are there other people who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name's Alan Lowbridge. I live at 1617 Oakland, which is the house in question here. I'm the house man, so there's supervision there 24 hours a day. When I moved in there, I just got out of prison about 11 months ago, and I come out of prison, I went to the Bethel Mission, and I enrolled in their STEP program. I started proceeding through that. The problem with that is I need to be able to pay child support, you know, and be able to set visitation up with my kids. So I left there, and luckily enough, there was a place to go to, which is one-way recovery. There is a need for these kind of places. It was a 3 to 4 month waiting list to get into any other place like Harbor of Hope or Freedom House or, you know, any other place. There's, you know, the problem like with the Bethel Mission is you go out the back. I'm in recovery. I got 11 months clean now by the grace of God, you know. But you go down to the Bethel Mission, it's a high-risk situation for somebody like me. There's people out back smoking K2, smoking meth, drinking, you know, and the place that I'm at now is a safe, secure place for me. You know, there's support there. Kelly has a big heart. She helps people. She took me to get my ID, to get my license when I was eligible to get my license. She's taking me to seek employment. I have full-time employment. I work at Village Inn as a server. And since then, I've gotten visitation set up with my kids. Me and my wife are reconciling our marriage. I go to therapy with her, marriage counseling. I pay my taxes, I pay my child support, I got a car, driver's license, insurance. Now, that may not seem like a lot to folks like you, but for somebody like me, that's, those are milestones, for me. And not having the support and a safe place for me to be where I can go to somebody like she's, got her counseling license and stuff, and I have problems or issues, I have people there I can go and talk to, as well as now I mentor people, because I chair meetings at the house, NA, and outside meetings. I go to Celebrate Recovery, and without this place, I'm not sure that I'd be standing here in front of you clean and sober with a job, being a dad, being a husband, so it's sad that there isn't more places like this, because when you come out of prison and you don't have a place to go because of my past actions, I'm not looking for anybody's sympathy or anything, but, I was looking for a chance to turn my life around, and I feel that I've been doing that, I know she put a lot into this house, and it'd just be a sad thing to see it go away. So I don't know if you have any questions for me, but I'm just grateful that that place was there and helped me get on my feet.
Anybody have any questions for Alvin?
No, good job, congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Ford. I live at 3915 Forest Avenue in Des Moines. I've lived in Des Moines most of my life, my work life. I'm a nurse. I worked at Mercy Hospital for 21 years. Since then, I've worked in community health. And my latest job was for Polk County as the Health Services Administrator. And I worked for the Sheriff's Office as the Health Services Administrator at the jail. In that position, I worked with people that would leave the jail and be housed in facilities like this. I worked with the CJCC and when we were looking for facilities to house people as they came out of the jail in the community. There are not enough places to house people that need this kind of thing in our community. There's not enough housing for people with mental illness. There's not enough housing for people with substance abuse problems. We need these kinds of places in the community. That's one of the reasons the CJCC came together, was to find places like this in the community. This is a 7,000 square foot home. There's no way in the Riverbend neighborhood that this is going to be used for a single family home. It's impossible. It will not happen. This is the kind of housing we need in our community to house these kinds of people, to get them rehabilitated so that they can be substantial, they can be contributing community people in our community. And so we're asking for you to help us with this. Kelly, I worked with her at the health department. I encouraged her to consider going about pursuing her dream. I'm on her board to help her do that. It's her passion in life. I'm asking, and we're asking as a board, that you help her pursue her dream and also provide this kind of service that Des Moines greatly needs. If you as a board don't support her, if we as a community don't support her, how are we ever going to meet this need that we greatly, greatly need in this community? I think we would be shirking our responsibility as citizens. I think as a board, we're shirking our responsibility if we don't step up and do this for our community. Thank you for hearing me.
Mayor, City Council, Mike Hildebrand, 410 Franklin Avenue. I'm also the Riverbend Association Board President. I'm going to try to keep my comments brief because I don't think it's new to anybody on this council of the continued opposition of our membership to any more concentration of facilities such as this in the Riverbend neighborhood. I don't think I need to speak to all the progress we've been making over the years with the rezoning, the local historic district and such, because you've all been part of that. You've all partnered with us and made that possible. So I'm not going to keep harping on that I usually do every time I appear. I think it warrants addressing the particular situation with Kelly and the clients that she serves. I don't think there's any doubt in the neighborhood's mind or anybody in this room that facilities like these are important. I commend Kelly for the work she does, and I think it's important to have facilities like this in appropriate locations, approved locations. I don't know if you have the information from Plan and Zoning, but I believe there was a 33% opposition. I'm not aware of any property owners that were in favor, and I believe the remainder did not reply. I don't take that as fact because I don't have that information, but that's what I believe was appropriate. I don't know who was on the petition. I don't know if those are property owners or if they're just residents of rental facilities. I'm not aware of what's on that. And I do not question anybody's need for this facility. I believe it's a 6,000 square foot facility, and I know in Sherman Hill, as well as my neighborhood, there are single families occupying structures close to that. So I take aback a little bit that this will never be a single family home. But it is a large structure, and there was an individual on Plan and Zoning that was concerned with that. And we understand those concerns, and I will extend an offer that I'm sure there's individuals in our neighborhood that would be willing to work with Kelly to find a suitable use for this structure if she so deems to take that offer. But as the council is aware, and the mayor, from the email that I sent to you today, there have been numerous opportunities for Kelly to avoid this situation. Starting on October 3rd, 2012, 1 month before she purchased it, we had a conversation where she told me what she was doing, a phone call. She told me what she was doing. I said I was not aware of what was necessary to open a facility or run a facility like this, but if there was any opportunity for the neighborhood association to oppose it, we would. I told her that 1 month prior to purchasing. And throughout the time frame from that time till now, I know Bob Reynolds, our neighborhood inspector, has approached Kelly numerous times, instructing her on what to do and how to do it. I believe that's resulted in non-compliance to the point where the city had filed against her. I think that is on hold, determining the process, or as it goes through this process to determine the outcome. So that is on hold. With the latest issue, we attended a meeting at the facility to voice again that the neighborhood would not support such a facility. At that point, the sidewalk was torn up, and we recommended, one board member in particular who's on the Historic Preservation Commission, recommended that Kelly get a hold of the Historic Preservation Commission to before she replaced the sidewalk because of accurate scoring and such. I know Bob Reynolds also communicated that with Kelly. The sidewalk was replaced about a month ago with no certificate of appropriateness and no accurate scoring in the sidewalk. So I think I don't think there's a need to expand on what was in my email and what I've said already. I think this is a great, commendable facility that she is trying to run. I think Kelly has just had problems with taking advice or following the appropriate course of action. I did notice that during Plan and Zoning, there was 4 individuals that are in there. As of tonight, there's 10 back in there in a facility that's not approved to be operating. So I think we need to concentrate on what's best for the neighborhood where this is located. As I noticed, the 2 individuals that spoke in favor of it do not live in the neighborhood. One's at 39th and Forest, and one's in Ankeny. I have just like 30 seconds. For 30 plus years, we have proven that the high density of housing and social services in the neighborhood is not good. That's proven. Once we have set the direction to reduce density and give attention to our commercial corridor and protect the historic fabric, which is one of the things that make our neighborhood unique, protecting our residents' investments, a surge in interest in locating in Riverbend is happening. And I think any consideration of this request sets a bad precedence to return to the old proven detrimental practices. Thank you.
All right. Mike, thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Anybody else? All right, let's close the hearing and what's your thoughts?
I guess I'm really torn on this one. I do think it's a vital service. I think it's important. I think there's a need for it. But I would echo the neighborhood sentiment that there's just an incredibly high density of these social services in this area. And that's created a lot of the problems that have existed over time, and they're finally reversing course. In the packet that was sent to P&Z on the staff's analysis, one paragraph reads, "The Riverbend Neighborhood Plan and the City Council's action to downzone the property are indicators of the intent to reduce density, not increase density within the neighborhood. Moving to a multiple family zoning and dwelling use would be contrary to that intent. Reoccupancy as a supervised group residence or correctional placement residence also violates the intent of the zoning ordinance, as there are two existing Polk County Health Service group homes at 1730 Arlington and 1812 Oakland Avenue within 1/4 mile of the subject property." Based on those factors and some others, practical things such as parking and different things along those lines, staff recommended denying it at the planning and zoning level. I'd be open to any conversation, but I think at this point I would be prepared to make a motion to uphold the denial of the Plan and Zoning Commission.
Mr. Coleman?
I forget your name. Alvin. Alvin?
Alan.
Alvin.
Yes.
I think your motion is grounded, and I guess what I hate is I know there's a lot of people like Alan, I get it right.
It's all right.
That need these kinds of services, and they want to return to our community and around family. And I hate that we didn't have a chance to plan a little bit better about where it might go, where it would be appropriate, and not bumping against other facilities that are right there on the street. So before we vote, Mayor, do you mind if I maybe just ask the city manager if there's not a resource that we have that might identify areas of the city where the zoning is appropriate and we don't beat up against the 1/4 mile limit and inside the buffer zones on what we're trying to plan around? I think services like this are needed, and I compliment them, but we can't have a concentration of them because it does none of the clients much good when they're all together in a small area.
Mr. Coleman, Mayor, council members, I think you all know that we have staff that is knowledgeable about the zoning laws and the city, and would be able to advise the owner as to maybe other locations that might work for this kind of a facility. We also have the ability to put them in touch with perhaps other agencies that may do this similar kind of work. But in any event, if you would make the motion and the council would approve a direction back to us, that would give us a chance to visit a little bit about alternative locations, we would be happy to do that.
I think we also need to ask our suburban partners to help with some of this.
Yeah.
Because we seem to be getting a lot of requests for this stuff, but there's no reason you're from Ankeny. There's no reason it can't be from in Ankeny, West Des Moines, Carlisle. So we need help with some of this stuff, and it's not fair to the city that we're lumping it all in one area.
Yep, totally agree.
Kelly, you and I had quite a lengthy phone call, and I advised you that I didn't think the petition that you had submitted before was appropriate, so you've got this new one. Who gathered these signatures?
Who gathered the signatures?
Yeah.
I did.
Well, I've got a real problem with this because when I cross-reference it to signatures on the first one, they're not the same signatures.
I have the
And
first one.
also, while I'm looking at this, It seems like the same person has filled out every one of these. Their signatures are the same line to line to line.
I had that same observation.
I also take exception to your statement that you don't really want to move to Des Moines.
I don't really want what, sir?
You said you didn't really want to move to Des Moines.
Mr. Mayor, question?
Yep.
Assuming that we uphold the recommendation from P&Z, can somebody give to me the timeline and the process as to ensuring that they're not being housed in the facility? How will that be handled?
Miss, do you want me?
Can I say something?
Mike, can you? No, sorry. Alan.
I don't think she was.
Alan, we've got Mike Ludwig, our
Alan thought you were calling him the wrong name, too.
Mayor and members of the council, Michael Ludwig, Planning Administrator. Enforcement on the illegal use of the property for correctional placement was stayed while the zoning determination was being made. I would assume that if the zoning were denied this evening, we would proceed with enforcement where we left off and ask that use cease.
What would be the time frame? I mean, to find proper placement for these individuals? I mean, because people like Alvin that are working hard to try to, do the right thing, we want to make sure that he has an opportunity to do that.
I think we can clearly communicate that to our enforcement staff. I do know that when the first notice of violation was issued, correctional placement residents were relocated from the facility. So if they've begun to reoccupy that, that's been in violation of the zoning enforcement that was already in place. But as far as permanent housing for them, we could just encourage our zoning enforcement staff to allow appropriate time for them to work with Department of Corrections for permanent location for those residents.
But are we talking about 30 days or when you talk about enforcement, what are we talking about?
I can't speak to a given date. I mean, our zoning enforcement staff would take that under advisement and probably rely on the input of the Department of Corrections for how long it would take to relocate some individuals. Again, as of today, the only people that are supposed to be residing on this premise are people that are under supervised group residence category, not Department of Corrections parolees or parolees or probation members. So it can only be people who are under recovery in a supervised group residence environment, but not placed by Department of Corrections at this time. So they should have been placed somewhere by now already.
Okay, thanks for the information.
Thank you.
If there's nothing further, I would make my motion to uphold the denial. I guess the frustrating thing for me is if this were coming forward just requesting a rezoning, it would be a fairly easy decision. This isn't the right neighborhood, this isn't the right location. But ironically, the fact that they've been in violation of city code for so long, that they've got, individuals like Alan, that they've really seen market improvement, makes it a tough decision for us to say, you can't continue doing this. That's frustrating on my side, and I realize there's nothing we can do about that, but my motion would be to uphold the planning and zoning denial.
53 and 53A, both. Kelly? Okay.
7 yes.
All right. Takes us to item 54, and the prior approval of a partial exemption from property taxation of Helena Industries, Inc., 3525 Vandalia Road. Anybody in the audience to speak to this item?
I'll move 54.
It's been moved.
7 yes.
Item 55, on the adoption of reference of the International Fire Building and other standard codes. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, amending Chapter 46 of the Municipal Code regarding adoption of the International Fire Code and amendments, Council Communication Number 13-378. B is the first consideration of the ordinance above, amending Chapter 26 to adopt the 2012 editions of the International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Existing Building Code, International Mechanical Code, International Fuel Gas Code, the Uniform Plumbing Code, and the 2009 edition of the International Energy Conservation Code, Council Communication Number 13-377. Anybody to speak on items 55A and B regarding fire, building, and other standard codes? Seeing none, could we
I'll
have a
move
motion?
55A and B. Thank you for all of the work on that.
7 yes.
56, on the petition to continue and adjust the boundaries of the downtown Des Moines self-supported municipal improvement district, SMID, Council Communication Number 13-372.
I'll move item 56.
Anybody to speak? Item's been moved.
Favorite word.
You're awesome.
7 yes.
Item 57, these are items regarding the issuance of general obligation bonds. These items will be voted on separately. So I'm going to read item A, and separate, I'm going to read 1A, or A1. So the hearing generally is, on this item A, is hearing on the issuance of not to exceed $1,250,000 general obligation bonds for urban renewal purposes.
Got it.
Is there anyone in the audience to speak on this item? But we're going to vote on them separately, right? Okay, seeing no one, let's also, item 1 under that, the authorization for additional action. Any comments?
I'll move 57A, A1.
Seven yes.
Item B is a hearing on the issuance of not to exceed $24 million in general obligation bonds for essential corporate purposes. One under that is the authorization for additional action. Is there anybody in the audience to speak to this item, item 57B and B1? Seeing none, could we have a motion on 57B and B1?
Seven yes.
Item 57C is a resolution directing the advertisement for the sale of $37,985,000 worth of general obligation bonds, Series 2013A, and $22,535,000 of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2013B, and approving the distribution of a preliminary official statement and use of electronic bidding procedures in conjunction with the sale of the bonds. The bonds will be sold at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, July 24th, and a special council meeting will be held at 4:30 p.m. on that same day. Is there anybody in the audience to speak to this? Item 57C.
I'll move 57C.
Seven yes.
Item 58, on the East 37th Street sanitary sewer, East Euclid Avenue to Hubble Avenue, resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as TK Concrete, Inc., Tony J. Vermeer, President, $158,518. Council Communication Number 13-357. A under that is approving the contract and the bond and permission to sublet. Is there anybody here to speak to this item
Let's back up a little bit.
regarding the sanitary sewer on East 37th? Seeing none, can we have a motion?
Seeing no speakers, I'll move 58 and 58A.
Five yes, two no.
All right, item 59, on the Indianola Avenue widening, Phase 3, resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as Corel Contractor, Inc., and subsidiary Grant Corel President, $3,356,690.18. Council Communication Number 13-355 is approving the contract and the bond and permission to sublet.
I'll move, unless there's speakers.
Anybody to speak? Seeing none,
I'll move 59 and 59A.
Seven yes.
60, on the 2013 Expanded Street Resurfacing Program, Contract 1, the resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating the lowest responsible bidder is OMG Midwest, Inc., doing business as Des Moines Asphalt and Paving. James Gauger, President, $919,433.50. Council Communication Number 13-358, and A is approving the contract and bond and permission to sublet. Anybody to speak on this item? Expanded Street Resurface. Do we have a motion?
I'll move 60 and 60A.
Is that awesome?
Seven yes.
61, on the 2013 Sidewalk Replacement Program, the resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, designating the lowest responsible bidder is Lamberti Concrete of Iowa, Inc., Miguel Hadsall, President, $371,853.50. Council Communication Number 13-365. A is approving the contract and the bond. Is there anybody in the audience to speak to this item? All right, could we have a motion on the sidewalk replacement program? Item's been moved.
Seven yes.
Item 62, on the 2013 sewer repair contract, a resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, designating the lowest responsible bidder as the Underground Company Limited, Dwayne Burkhart, President, $310,869.90. Council Communication Number 13-366. A is the approval of the contract and the bond and permission to sublet. Anybody in the audience to speak on this item, the sewer repair contract?
I'll move 62, 62A.
Seven yes.
All right, that completes the hearings, and it takes us back to item 48, which is from Anna Monday of 4228 Holland Drive, to speak regarding the hours of splash pad / wading pools.
Thank you very much. Anna Mundy, 4228 Holland Drive. I'm here to request some expanded hours for the splash pads, as the Des Moines Parks and Recreation refers to them, specifically Ashby Park in my neighborhood. I've been a Des Moines resident for 10 years and 5 years as a homeowner in the Beaverdale neighborhood. I have a 19-month-old son, Jack, who just loves the park and the amenities it has to offer. But unfortunately, we found out this summer that as a working parent myself, my husband also works during the week, that the hours on the weekend are just insufficient. During the week, Monday through Friday, the hours are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. On the weekends, it's 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Anybody with young kids knows that those are the hours that they eat their lunch, take an afternoon nap. So it's virtually impossible for us to get there. And it's a wonderful, wonderful amenity for our neighborhood. It's perfect for young children. It doesn't get any deeper than 16 inches, and those hours on the weekends just don't cater to younger children. And earlier this summer, looked at the website, it was very clear that the hours actually were posted on the website to be longer. We're there at Saturday at 10 a.m., sunscreen on, in the swim gear. It was closed. By 10:30 that morning, there were in excess of 50 people there waiting for the splash pad to be open, and it doesn't open till noon. That issue on the website has apparently been corrected. So when you go to the website now, you can see that shortened. And later, another change occurred that the holiday on July 4th, I thought, maybe we can go that day. It's a day off from work. That got changed on the website, and again, to reduced hours. So I think this is a wonderful, wonderful amenity for Des Moines and for Beaverdale neighborhood and Ashby Park, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to be open 9 hours during the week each day, and then a combined of 8 on the weekend. So just raising that for the council. Thank you.
Thank you for coming before us to make us aware of that. If somebody would give the manager some directive to look into this, I think it.
Yeah, great points, and it's a great amenity, and we should be very proud of it. I'll move to the city manager and to see, I know Ashby is one of the parks where it stays open longer. They shut down, is Ben here?
He's not here now.
Some of them start shutting down in earlier August. Some are open through parts of September, and Ashby is one open longer.
It's actually it's shorter this year.
Is it?
It rotates through the splash park. I think we exchanged some emails with Ben and had a conversation about a month ago. But yeah, I think there's something we can look at moving forward, hopefully.
I'll move it to you, and if there's funds that we could come up with, and maybe as we enter next year's budget cycle, to at least reserve funds for this. This is, Ashby isn't the only one, but Union, Crevaro, there's parks around the city where it is about the most active place in town during the year. I worked at a wading pool, worked my way through college, and I loved being over at Union. And I know the people that go there often, that's the highlight of their summer when they can run down the street.
Is Ashby a wading pool or a splash pad?
Splash pad.
I call it a wading pool, but according to Des Moines Parks and Recreation website, it's listed as a wading pool.
I know up in McHenry.
Or excuse me, I'm sorry, splash pad. I said
Henry
that.
Park up there, they have a new splash pad, and they just a matter of pushing the button and the water comes out, and I don't know what time they shut it off.
It's not monitored. They don't have staff that needs to be there, which is the difference from the splash pads.
So do you have someone monitoring?
What's it? Yes.
Correct.
Because there's standing water. The splash pads don't have any standing water.
There's a
Is
staffing
the
impact,
distinction.
and I think
It's
that's
just a
the issue.
fountain.
Right.
I would just add to a friendly amendment to Councilmember Coleman's action that we also have a discussion with the Friends of the Parks and Recreation Foundation Board to see if there would be a way that they could provide some assistance to allow us to expand the hours the rest of the season. I mean, they've been very supportive, so that might be an option as well.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Anna, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
If you had a wand, what would it look like in terms of hours on the week and the weekend? I mean, how would you think about filling those hours so that it better served what I think you're saying is the general public's need?
Sure. I regularly see parents when we're there at off hours bring their kids all ready to go when it's closed. I would do morning hours on the weekends, whether It stays open until 4, but opens at 10 so that parents can have some flexibility. If that means that budget doesn't permit being open 9 hours, each weekday, maybe trim a couple hours Monday, Tuesday. I've been there Friday evening. I know that's very popular. You probably want to keep that a little bit later as it gets towards the weekend. But if you could, trim some of the hours during the week to have some morning weekend hours.
Thank you.
And I hope that we can get that to happen the remainder of this year, because your child is not going to be 19 months next year.
Correct.
And I think that putting it off a year is not what we want to do. We need to serve the needs. So hopefully, Mr. Manager, you will come up with a quick solution to be able to better meet the needs of our residents in these neighborhood issues.
Thank you.
Great job.
So hopefully that's part of the motion.
That is
also.
part of the motion. I'd love to see happen as soon as possible. And I'd add some of those high-use parks as well in the other quadrants of the city.
Can we put food vendors there?
Skip.
I think there's a
7 yes.
All right, item 63, which is a real estate property exchange and grant agreement with Clear Channel Outdoor, Inc., and authorizing the acquisition of property at 849 Army Post Road, Council Communication number 13-376. A is setting the date of hearing on the amended and restated billboard lease with Clear Channel Outdoor, Inc. on the city-owned property west of I-235 between Ovid Avenue and Hull Avenue. And the date of that hearing is July 29th of 13. And B is setting the date of hearing on an amended and restated billboard lease with Clear Channel Outdoor, Inc. on the city-owned property at 227 63rd Street, also for the 29th day of July of this year. Is there anybody in the audience to speak to this? If not,
I've got one question, Mr. Mayor. On 63B, says that they're going to remove a tree, and I'd like to know where that tree that they're talking about will be removed from. They have anybody here?
I'm going to not approve this. Support that.
Say what?
The tree.
I didn't see it identified, so I didn't want them to take one off of the Court Avenue or somewhere, but specify where the location is.
No, it's a tree near the sign.
On 63rd.
It's near the sign.
On 63rd?
Yes.
Down on 63rd.
Could we have a report on that tree, species, health, everything else, when the hearing comes up?
Yep.
I'll move 63A and B to set the dates for hearings.
okay, is this a final then on the property exchange and grant agreement?
It's a final. The agreement specifies we still have to, council will still have to approve the lease agreements on the date of the hearing. But this simply sets the terms of the agreement, so it wouldn't be finalized until council extends the agreement. Both parties have to agree.
Could you also give us information on the length of the lease, the 20 years, and how that compares with other like signs throughout the community? Is this the length of time that we do other billboards? It seems long.
If I read this right, the lease has expired now?
Yes.
And so they're without, so if we're going to make any changes, now's the time.
Well, this has been negotiated for 3 years. Part of this is to get control over the property at Southwest 9th and Army Post so we can redevelop it.
Right.
This has been negotiated for 3 years. It's part of the process. I'd really like to move it forward, but I understand people's concerns. And it's just, I've talked about it several times in the course of 3 years, and no one's ever raised an issue, so I'll move.
Well,
I have talked several times to several people on this council about this.
okay. I don't disagree, and I'm going to go ahead and vote for it, but I will also tell you that since 1995 or 6, we've been trying to figure out what to do with the whole billboard issue, and that we were told that these were at some moment going to run out. And so I think we have to be really careful how we negotiate the final standing of this particular, or any other one, for that matter. Because we had decided years ago that those, as on Fleur Drive and every other place, billboards are like going away.
Took a number of years to get the one off of Fleur Drive.
Right, it did. And, you know, it's not that I disagree with what we're trying to accomplish here, but it's the devil in the details. And I agree, we've had conversations, but it's the devil in the details, and we just have gotten the details at this point. So I think that we can have some good discussion here, but as we go forward, it is important because of the length of time and the precedent it sets, and I just want to make sure, because at no time did anybody tell me it was 20 years that we were talking about.
I understand.
So,
But we're just setting the data here.
Right.
And this,
Yeah,
this gives us all a lot of time to digest.
continue to have discussions and work through it.
One of the issues to keep in mind with this agreement is there's no exchange of funds, so it's a swap.
And-
So essentially, the lease terms have to be evaluated. So if you have a shorter time on the lease, it wouldn't match the fair market value of the property which they're exchanging, so that you kind of have to have equal value.
But one of the other things that I would like to also, and look at the financial side of it, because the digital billboards have tremendously more positive financial for Clear Channel. And I'm not saying that's bad, but we need to understand that, because a digital billboard is much different than a paper billboard. Just the impact financially. At least that's what I've been told in the past. And I'm assuming that hasn't changed. Okay.
7 yes?
All right. Takes us to item 64, intergovernmental 28E agreement with the Des Moines Metropolitan Wastewater Reclamation Authority, WRA, for the design and construction of the Easter Lake Spine Trail as part of the WRA Southern Tier Interceptor Phase 10, Segment 15 and 16 project. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this? Please step up to the microphone.
Kind of like best for last, almost.
Absolutely.
Sure, thank you. I have a petition I'd like to submit.
I'll move to receive and file the petition.
My name's Tim Mulcahy. I live at 6816 Sweetwater Drive. My house backs up to this proposed trail. I'd like to read the petition to you. We, the residents of Sweetwater Drive, petition the cities to stop the construction of the 10-foot wide asphalt bike trail that will occur on the city-owned property in our backyards. The lots of the property owners are not sufficient in depth and size to construct a bike trail without impacting the quality of life of the lot owners. Considering the house setback from the curb, the average depth of homes, and depth for patios and decks, this will result in a trail approximately 20 foot from the back of each lot owner's property. In addition, there will be no separation of the trail and the residents to obstruct the views of either trail users or property owners. Lot owners will have an unobstructed view of a 10-foot wide asphalt trail 20 foot from their patio or deck. The primary concern is the proximity of this trail to homes, the lack of separation between the trail and homes, and the overall impact this will have in property values and the quality of life of the residents who sit on their patio deck and enjoy the quiet view of their backyard. There is also a concern that this will effectively be a trailhead, and that this trail will end in our neighborhood and will create additional car traffic that will create both safety and parking concerns. Lastly, this 10-foot wide trail will consume vital green space that my 2 children currently use to play. We understand that trails are a top priority for both residents and the city. However, there are a few examples where city trails are in such close proximity to the homes of residents. There are a few examples of trails that border property lines on both the Walnut Creek and Waveland trails, but both those examples are dealing with very few residential properties, and those are in more mature neighborhoods where lot sizes are larger or adequate separation exists using trees or greenery between the trail and the homes. We respectfully request the City Council reconsider the placement of this trail behind the homes on Sweetwater Drive. I'd like to point out that of the 28 homes that are on Sweetwater Drive, I received 21 signatures from homeowners in opposition. There were 3 homeowners who supported it, and there were 4 that were unavailable to sign the petition. So that's a 75% rate of opposition. This is a odd subject for me because I'm an avid cyclist. I rode 85 miles yesterday with a group called the Dream Team, which, Mayor, you might be familiar with. They co-sponsor your Mayor's Ride for Trails, which I've done for the past 13 years. I've been a 13-year mentor and volunteer with the Dream Team. We're preparing for RAGBRAI next week, which I'm very excited about. So it's a touchy subject for me because I love trails. I've ridden every trail in Des Moines this year at least once, many of them multiple times. But a trail 20 foot from my patio or deck, I've never seen that close a proximity to other residences on trails that I've ridden in Des Moines. So I do think this will affect my property values and my quality of life, and 21 of my neighbors also agree. So I respectfully request that you reconsider this. And I know that there are others here who are in opposition, Brian and Becky Moore, who are my neighbors, Stuart Height, Susan, who's also here to voice their concern on this. So if they'd like to say something, I'd invite them up, but I know there's others who support that are here.
And did we vote on that petition, receive and file?
No. Move to receive and file, I think I
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks. Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Jim Bollard, 4007 Southeast 26th Street, president of the Easter Lake Area Neighborhood Association, which this trail would be within. There was a public meeting a couple weeks ago, a month ago, that I was not invited to. That the information that I received from that was very positive in terms of the response. Based on what we heard the end of last week, I think the city is in the process of scheduling another public meeting for a week from tonight so we can gather some more input and have further discussion on this topic. And I'm going to attend that meeting, so hopefully we can facilitate something that's reasonable for the neighbors. As Tim points out, and I know Tim, so this is a little difficult here too, my noon today was spent at the groundbreaking for the trail at Easter Lake, and one of the things as a neighborhood association we've worked hard for is trails in the neighborhood. So although the direct neighbors may have some opposition to this, we'll need to kind of monitor this a little bit because I know the neighborhood in general is for trails. So thank you.
Thank you.
Question for staff on this. Do we have, is this the proposed siting of the trail would be actually on public right-of-way? Is that correct?
It's on an easement.
On the current easement that we, the city, have? Okay.
It's not.
We have another speaker or two?
Mayor and members of the City Council, Mindy Moore, Park Planner 2. The trail would be located on city-owned property. The WRA is getting an easement from the city to construct the sewer on the city-owned property.
So the city owns this property?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You need to use your camera. Mayor and council members, Ruth Randleman, Mayor of City Carlisle, 15797 Carter Street in Carlisle. Thanks for the opportunity. I am speaking to this item tonight simply as mayor of a jurisdiction to your south where this piece of trail or a piece of trail in this direction is very critical to us in Carlisle. We've made an over $3 million investment in a trail of our own that you can see on this map in the portion identified here, with working with your staff for many years now to make sure that the connection between Des Moines and Carlisle occurs. For the purposes tonight, I'm not prepared to get into the weeds on the details of this specific project, and that is your jurisdiction. I'm well acquainted with some of the issues that come with trails. We just did a trail project in Carlisle to go to bid in October. We dealt with the exact same issue, and now this gentleman will know of a place where the trail is less than 20 feet from private residential because we just went through those issues with our trail and indeed had the same issues. In this, I don't know that I'm going to advocate for the details. I do know that your staff has worked diligently, and I'm under the assumption after working with them, the trust level that we have, that they are presenting you with what they feel is the most viable option to get toward Carlisle and that connection. With trail projects, I know it's also easy to get derailed when projects shift, when projects have amendments to them. What I'm not saying is that you certainly, I am encouraging you to vet through the public process the issues that you have with your citizens and your property owners. We do that. That's a very important part. So I am encouraging that, but I'm also encouraging this project to stay on course so that the connection gets made. I'm very interested in connectivity, and I'm very interested in timeliness. I stand before you giving myself instruction because we have some work to keep timely as well, because we also have some work to do at our end to come toward you. I think the one critical piece, and then I won't take a lot of your time, but this very unprofessional little star that you see I've drawn on the map is next to 140th Avenue there. That is the only connectivity street that is paved that connects us under the bypass. We do not have another option for making that connection with you folks. I think as we look at this, if we look at a bigger picture, regional picture, these connectivity issues are just extremely critical. We always want to be sensitive to our citizens and property owners. But keeping the bigger picture in mind, we need to keep the connectivity piece of this in mind as well. So if you have any questions for me in regard to impact to Carlisle or issues between our jurisdictions, I'm always available and more than happy to talk.
Anybody have any questions of the mayor?
So have you approved the funding in that for your trail up to that point?
Yeah, this little segment right here is already in. We're going to bid, we've got all the funding in place, and we are going to bid in October on that remaining solid line between the Somerset Trail up to County, we will be up to County Line Road at that point. I think there's some options, obviously, with you, but that's your determination, what serves maybe the connectivity of your trails in this area as opposed to some of the other options you might have. So I guess my advocacy here tonight is just to keep the project moving and keep the connectivity and the regional impact in mind as you do so.
And I think, if I can point out on this, before you remove the map, Ruth, that from part of this where you can see where there's kind of a gap sometimes with where the cities connect, I think it's my understanding the county is willing to, Polk County is willing to step up and do some of this work as well to help us connect with Carlisle. So it's an important part of the connection.
Polk County Conservation has been real instrumental. Mindy's been great to work with. We have sat down over the past few years at semi-regular intervals to make sure, it's been 10 years of work on this, to make sure that as we're doing our projects, we're going to meet. So we're trying to really get ahead of the game. Polk County Conservation has been involved in those conversations as well, and are a very cooperative partner with trying to make this.
Because that would be weird if we didn't meet up.
Exactly. And given that time flies when you're having a good time, trails take some time and some preparation well ahead of the game. So that's why we try to get on top of it as a region quickly, get ahead of the game. So we're hoping that we can keep this moving.
Well, as a bicycle-friendly city in that, and as we look at our regional process of connecting trails and how many miles that we're going to have to support the trail system, that it is very important that this continues to go forward.
Yeah. We have the same issues with your folks there, that the people along our trail that we have had process with and some issues with, they don't oppose bike trails. I think that's been well said. It's just simply the accommodations that you make. We've come to a kind of a comfort level for the moment, but my solutions in Carlisle are not necessarily your solutions in Des Moines. So I wish you well with working out those issues and moving forward with the project.
Thanks, Ruth.
Thank you very much.
If there's more speakers.
Any other speakers? Just, how many do we have? Two? Two more.
Mayor, City Council members, my name is Stuart Heitsusan. I live at 7012 Sweetwater Drive. My argument is not so much with bike trails as one would think, but mostly as the design of this bike trail is where I think the problem lies. We as citizens have rules that we have to abide by to keep certain structures away from our property lines. We were just asking a lot of the same, basically, if there's going to be a structure built, that we'd be given some buffer zone between the structure and our property lines. Also, the trailhead, or the temporary trailhead, if you will, that's going to be created by the end of this spine line will be at the end of a cul-de-sac, which currently has no parking. There's also a Southeast 27th Street, which comes down from Pine, which only has parking on one side of the road. Most of that is already occupied by residents and work trucks and things like that. Also, the south side of Sweetwater also is pretty much fully occupied with traffic from cars from children of residents, again, work trucks, and that sort of thing. We're concerned that if there's a trailhead, even a temporary trailhead, at the south end, just adjacent to East Pine, that we will have cars parking there and basically unloading their bikes, driving down the trail and coming back, and without any sort of additional parking or without any sort of trailhead parking, we're going to see congested areas on weekends and evenings and things, and that's just when, you know, the regular residents are coming home from work, and now we can't park in our areas. And most of those are two-car garages, which have a limited apron area that people can park off-street. So I think if we're going to do this, we have to kind of come up with some sort of a method to handle the parking and also the buffer zone that we're requesting. We just ask that the City Council give us the same, the city give us the same type of buffer zone that we would have to give our neighbors. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Mindy, have we looked at that aspect of it, parking and that for the bikers?
As far as parking, no. The intent is that this would eventually tie into the Easter Lake Trail, the new Mark C. Eccleston Trail that's going to be around Easter Lake. I would imagine Easter Lake would serve as a trailhead. This gentleman's right, though. That's not going to connect until probably 2015 or 2016. So in the meantime, the trail ends at Peyton and Pine, and there's not any provision for parking. As far as the design aspect, the trail itself hasn't been designed yet, and we are willing to work with the property owners to figure out what exactly that placement will be. Generally speaking, we said the sewer would be to the west and the trail would be to the east, but exactly how far it is from the property line hasn't been determined.
Well, we have representatives at the meeting he's talking about next week.
Well, can I address some of this? Because here's going to be my motion when we're done with discussion, if it suits everybody. But the motion will be to delay this for 2 weeks. First off, Jeb or City Attorney, if we need to bifurcate this particular item, 64, to allow the sewer work to go forward, my preference is sewer work goes forward, we take 2 weeks, we have the public meeting that Ben is actually and Mindy are working on to set up with Jim Ballard from the neighborhood, who can then invite everybody from Three Lakes. So the motion will be to, if we need to bifurcate it, but to not move forward with this until we get back from the meeting in 2 weeks. Does that work? And so, as soon as we're done with the hearing, I'll address some other things in it too.
Well, we've got a couple of the speakers here. Would you guys like to come up?
I'm Brian Kratzer, 7016 Sweetwater Drive. We wasn't notified of anything, and maybe we wasn't supposed to be. We've lived there for approximately a year, and we did not know anything about this until one of our neighbors come over and told us about it. And actually, I don't have nothing against bike trails, but when it's right out your back door, I suppose nobody on the council, or maybe nobody but us in here, lives there. Does anybody live on our street that is on the council?
I would guess that Mr. Meyer's closest.
Closest. But, I mean, it's going to be right out our back door.
Trail.
Yeah.
And
I'll have it in my backyard.
And ever since we moved in, we've had a tremendous problem with theft. We was there, I don't know, 3 months, and I had my brand new four-wheeler stole out of the front yard. And that one night, and that's not the only thing, but I think this will be another problem, is more theft, because that little trail going down through there, that's how most of these people get out, I heard, and then down another little trail we got to get product out. But we've had a lot of problems with that. We don't have any, we have police in the area, but I've never seen one drive through there once. But I think today I talked to some people over in Waukee. I do a lot of real estate in Des Moines. I flip houses, and I was over there and I just happened to talk to one of the hardware people. And over in Waukee, they're having a tremendous problem with theft, vandalism to a bike trail that backs up to adjacent fields. I don't know what it's all about, but that's what they was telling me, that they're having a very big problem with that, with skateboarders and busting windows in houses. And, do we got to look forward to that? And if it happens, the city isn't responsible for that, we are.
Sure.
So, there's a lot of different variables, I think, but let's see. And I suppose there's no way that it's ever been brought up that it could go down on the west side of the water.
Yeah, we're going to look at different options and that sort of thing. We're just going to delay it if it's,
okay.
If everybody votes for it. We're just going to delay it for 2 weeks and look at options.
Okay, and then we'll have.
All right, that he's kind of put that motion on the table. I think that in addition to that, Mindy, we'd probably like to have some of the history along bike trails, especially like the one down off of, goes along Walnut Creek there, that some of the other residents there were very concerned about the same thing at the
Would have done more
time.
investigation on this, like we say, we
Yeah.
lived there for a year, but I
Yep.
did not know nothing about this. And if there's another time we can talk about this, I will
Okay.
do my
Well,
work.
and we're
We'll
going
let
to, that's
everybody-
the motion. Ms. Hensley?
I'm supportive of Councilman Meyer's motion here, and I guess I just, I'm a little bit taken back by your comments and people making statements about trails and vandalism and crime. I know it's not you, but you're just relaying it, and I just want to make sure and be on public record that it's just the opposite of what you're saying. I live directly across the street from a trail, had the very same comments made, and I just want to go on records. Number one, they were concerned about criminal activity, vandalism, and we don't have that. It's just the opposite, because you have so many people on the trail that if there are people that are going to be committing crimes, they're not going to be there because there are too many other people that are going to report them. And so that's completely.
I'm just relaying what they.
I understand, but I just think it's important. And secondly, the people that were as opposed as anybody on the Walnut Creek Trail expansion are the same ones that have come forward and said, it's the best thing that's ever happened in our neighborhood. So, go into it with an open mind, and you're making all of the arguments that everybody makes when it comes into their neighborhood. And I can tell you that it's just really not the case, including the traffic issues that somebody was talking about. I'm on a cul-de-sac, and people are coming from the neighborhoods that are on the trail. It's not necessarily people driving in. So I would just encourage you to have an open mind.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to, but it's tough when you live right there and see what's going to be.
I live right there too.
Okay.
We have one more speaker out here, I think.
Same household, Becky Moore, 7016 Sweetwater Drive. I think bike trails are great too. Just would prefer to not in the backyard. We moved there to have the peaceful, quiet backyard, just not for bikers in our patio. She spoke earlier, I apologize, I don't know her name, but she spoke earlier about amendments to these projects. So my request as a Sweetwater homeowner would be an amendment to this project to move the trail elsewhere, just not in our backyard. So that's my request at this time. Thank you.
All right. We have a gentleman here that would like to speak again. Come ahead.
Really quick, I really favor the additional discussion, but the timing is terrible. You've got the largest bike ride in the country happening next week, which is going to bring millions of dollars to Des Moines. Why would we have an informational meeting the week of that when people like me and thousands of others, either supporters or opposition, well, mostly supporters, are not going to be here? So I know the time frame is a difficult thing, but if it cannot be next week, but could be a different week, that's just like the worst.
We can work on
possible.
the timing.
Okay.
And between Jim and Mindy, they can get with you after we're done here.
Yeah, I
and make
appreciate
sure
the
that
dialogue, and I think that's what I really want, but next week is just not to be self-centered, but that's.
You're going to be right.
No, that makes total sense.
Okay, thank you.
In addition to, Mayor, if I could have.
Yeah, please.
I want to say a few things about this. One is, I've been contacted many, many times by folks, and I think this is why it took me so off guard, is folks in Three Lakes have contacted me, when are we going to get our trail? When are we going to get our trail? All of these trails, you promised us trails, and now Bollard's told me a million times, when are you going to get our trails? And so now we've presented with a trail, and now we're in opposition to the trail, which is fine, I understand. Secondly, when we went we went today and broke ground on the Easter Lake Trail, that is part of this. I know Ruth wants to have that connection. I think it's important to make that connection happen from Carlisle, connect it up to Easter Lake. Polk County will build the Easter Lake Trail. We connect from Easter Lake down to county. County's already built. The trail into Des Moines is there. And so I think there's other locations for this. We just want to make sure that there's not, I know you've got 30 signatures. I know I've talked to at least 40 people over there that want trails. So we need to make sure that we're not missing something here. And I understand it's more the location of the trail than the trail itself. The difficulty with this project is that it's come up with the sewer project that absolutely has to get done. And this is just something that was a cheaper way to build a trail than to go through another process. So the motion tonight will be to delay it for a set time, delay the vote for 2 weeks, and then we'll set the meeting sometime in the next, hopefully 2 weeks, and if not, we'll have to figure that out. We can certainly move forward with the WRA stuff, and so it's my intent to move forward with the WRA project and hopefully bring this back in 2 weeks and get this done. In the alternative, there are alternative paths we can take. You know, maybe we don't connect this at this point, but I've talked to Ben and Jim about possibly using this money to help connect Easter Lake with the county soccer fields for now, or county baseball field trail, and get that connection done, and then come back and revisit this there's any number of things we can do, but the basic motion will be delayed for 2 weeks.
Any questions, anybody? Everybody kind of got what we're doing?
7 yes.
All right. Unless I'm mistaken that there's some additional item that I've missed, I think that brings us to the end of the agenda. Could we have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
It's been moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We said adjourn. Thank you very much.